Talasakyo.
Teonna. Birichale.
In 1923, Season 2, Episode 7, it comes knocking with a vengeance. Teonna Rainwater thought she had escaped the horrors of her past, but the past never stays buried. When she comes face to face with someone from another life, emotions explode: anger, fear, heartbreak. Is this a chance at redemption, or is it a cruel trick that could cost her everything? Meanwhile, Alexandra has been running for her life, clinging to hope. But in a single moment, her fate shifts. What seemed like a stroke of luck may be a deadly trap. With danger lurking in every shadow, the choices made in this episode will change everything, and not everyone will make it out alive. Teonna Rainwater has fought for every breath, every step, every chance to reclaim her stolen freedom. The wounds of her past may not be visible, but they run deep, cutting into her soul like a blade. She survived the brutal hands of the boarding school, the relentless chase of those who wanted her erased, and the unbearable loss of those who stood beside her. But just when she thinks she has finally outrun her past, it comes crashing back, merciless and unstoppable. The air turns cold. A shadow moves. Then a familiar face emerges from the haze of memory. Her pulse pounds in her ears, her breath catches in her throat. Is this real, or is it another nightmare? For a moment, time ceases to exist. All she can hear is the hammering of her own heartbeat. She should run. She should fight. Every instinct tells her not to trust, not to believe. But something in their eyes, something hauntingly familiar, holds her still. Could it be? After everything, could there still be a piece of her past that hasn't turned to ash? Emotion rages inside her like wildfire: grief, fury, longing. Trust has never been more dangerous. But what if this person holds the key to her survival? What if this reunion is not a mistake, but a test of destiny? And what if, for the first time in a long time, she isn't alone? As Teonna wrestles with the ghosts of her past, Alexandra is fighting against a different kind of terror, one she never saw coming. She has been running from the moment she made her choice to leave behind the world she knew, to stand beside the man she loves, to defy the forces determined to destroy her. And for a moment, it seemed she had won. She outmaneuvered her pursuers, took her destiny into her own hands. She believed she had found safety, but that illusion shatters. The enemy never stopped watching. They never stopped hunting. And now, as Alexandra breathes a sigh of relief, believing she has escaped fate's grip, the trap snaps shut. A single moment, a whisper, a glance, a wrong move, and she realizes too late that she was never free. Her so-called lucky break is a lie, and the price of her trust might be her life. As these two women fight battles that stretch across land and time, this episode delivers a brutal truth. Some people refuse to be forgotten, and some fates refuse to be changed. But in the ruthless world of 1923, one thing is certain: survival comes at a cost. Teonna's reunion may have been unexpected, but the emotions it unearths are far more devastating than she could have imagined. She has spent so long running, fighting to carve out a future where she is no longer a hunted woman. But now, face to face with someone she once trusted, she is forced to confront the truth. No matter how far she goes, the past is always just one step behind. Memories flood back, some comforting, others suffocating. The pain of betrayal. The echoes of screams from the boarding school. The scent of burning sage on the wind. It all crashes into her like a tidal wave. Her heart pounds as she takes in the sight before her. She should feel relief, but instead, fear coils in her gut like a snake waiting to strike. Can she trust this person? Have they truly come to help her, or are they leading her back into the hands of those who tried to destroy her? Every survival instinct screams at her to run, to push away the past and keep moving forward. But there is something in their voice, a plea, a desperation that tugs at the frayed edges of her resolve. She listens cautiously as the story unfolds. The nightmare she thought she left behind is far from over. The people who hurt her, who hunted her, still roam freely. And now, they are not just after her. They are after those who have dared to protect her. The weight of her survival becomes heavier than ever. How many more must suffer because of her existence? How many more will fall in the name of revenge? A decision looms before her. If she keeps running, she may be able to escape. But she will be leaving behind those who she needs her freedom. If she stays, she risks everything: her freedom, her life, and the fragile sense of hope she has managed to hold on to. But she has been careful. Every step she takes is calculated, every decision weighed against the risk of being found. But the people hunting her are patient, ruthless, and relentless. They do not stop. They do not forget. And now, they have finally caught up to her. It starts subtly, whispers in the wind, shadows moving just out of sight. Then the unease grows a missed rendezvous, a letter that never arrives, a warning from a stranger whose face is half hidden in the fog. She tries to ignore the gnawing feeling in her stomach, the creeping sensation that she is being watched. But deep down, she knows the noose is tightening. Then the inevitable happens. A trap is set, perfectly laid out, waiting for her to walk right into it. And she does. Because even the strongest survivors have their weaknesses. Hers is hope. She clings to it, believing she has won, that she has finally found a way to live free from fear. But the moment she steps into the light, she realizes the truth: she has been deceived. The air shifts. Her pulse spikes. The walls close in around her. And before she can react, it's too late. Her so-called lucky break, nothing more than a carefully orchestrated illusion. The people she thought she could trust, nothing more than puppets in a game far bigger than she ever imagined. The reality of her situation slams into her like a thunderstorm. She is cornered, alone, and outmatched. As she stands on the edge of her fate, one question remains: can she fight her way out, or is this the end of the road? Teonna and Alexandra, two women from different worlds, bound by the same relentless force: survival. One fighting to reclaim her identity, the other battling to keep hers from being erased. But 1923 is not a story of easy victories. In this world, every step forward comes at a price. Teonna knew that survival would always come at a cost. But she never expected the past to reach for her so soon. The weight of her choices presses down on her, each step forward feeling heavier than the last. The person standing before her, a face from her past, awakens a storm of emotions she thought she had buried. This is no ordinary reunion. It's a collision of history and fate, a reminder that the world she fought to escape has not let her go. The firelight flickers, casting long shadows across the ground. As she listens, her heartbeat remains steady, but her mind races. The words spoken to her are filled with both urgency and sorrow. She is not the only one who has suffered. The people she left behind, those who tried to help her, have paid dearly. The enemy she thought was behind her is still hunting, still destroying, still waiting for their chance to take her back. Every instinct in her body screams at her to move, to run, to put as much distance between herself and the past as possible. But she knows, deep down, that if she does, she will never stop running. This is her fight. It always has been. But she isn't alone anymore. The people who have taken her in, the ones who have risked their lives to keep her safe, will not abandon her. Still, Teonna struggles with the guilt that claws at her soul. How many more must suffer because of her? How many more will be punished simply for standing by her side? She looks into the eyes of the one who came to find her, searching for answers in the silent pain that lingers there. The truth is bitter. There is no easy escape. The only way to end this is to face it. But how? The men who hunt her are powerful, relentless. They believe she is theirs to control a ghost of their own making. If she steps into the light, she risks everything. But if she hides, she will never truly be free. Her decision is made in the quiet between breaths. She will not run anymore. Far from the turmoil of Teonna's world, Alexandra is facing her own terrifying reality. The walls of safety she thought she built around herself are beginning to crumble. Every move she makes, every step she takes, feels like walking on ice-thin, fragile, ready to break at any moment. She has fought hard to escape the life that was planned for her, to carve out her own destiny. But fate, it seems, has other plans. The whispers have turned into warnings. A sense of unease coils in the pit of her stomach, tightening like a vice. She has spent months looking over her shoulder. But this time, the danger is no longer a shadow in the distance. It is here. It happens suddenly, too fast to react, too calculated to be a coincidence. She is lured into a moment of false security, tricked into believing she is safe. And then everything unravels. A single misstep, a trap that had been set long before she even realized she was walking into it. Alexandra barely has time to process what is happening before the ground is pulled out from under her. Panic grips her, but she fights to stay in control. She has been through too much, sacrificed too much to let them win. But as the reality of the situation sinks in, she realizes just how dire her circumstances have become. The people she feared, the ones who sought to reclaim her, have outmaneuvered her at every turn. And now, she is at their mercy. Her so-called lucky break was nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion. She had been so desperate to believe in hope that she failed to see the danger lurking beneath it. The betrayal cuts deep, sharper than any knife. She thought she had won, thought she had outplayed them. But the game was never hers to win. As she struggles against the force of her fate, one thought burns in her mind: she cannot let them take her back. She would rather die fighting than return to the life she left behind. Meanwhile, the Duttons are caught in their own storm. News has reached them, news that could change everything. A lifeline in the chaos. A glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. But with every victory comes a cost, and the Duttons know better than anyone that in 1923, nothing comes without a price. The world is shifting, alliances breaking, enemies growing bolder. Teonna stands at the crossroads of vengeance and survival. Alexandra teeters on the edge of a fate she cannot escape. And the Duttons, forever haunted by the weight of their legacy, prepare for the battle ahead. But one thing is certain before this chapter ends: blood will be spilled, and not everyone will make it out alive. The weight of destiny presses down on Teonna as she stares into the eyes of her past. Every scar, every wound, every moment of suffering comes rushing back like a flood, threatening to drown her. But this is no longer the same girl who once ran for her life, terrified and alone. She has faced the depths of cruelty and emerged stronger, hardened by the fire of survival. Yet, as she listens to the voice before her, she realizes that some wounds never fully heal. The person standing in front of her isn't just a ghost of her past. They are a living reminder of everything she has lost. The truth they bring is both heartbreaking and enraging. The people she once knew, the ones who tried to protect her, have suffered in ways she can barely comprehend. Their pain is her pain, and their sacrifices weigh heavily on her heart. But with this revelation comes a terrifying reality. The enemy she thought she had left behind has not forgotten her. They have been waiting, watching. And now they are ready to strike again. Teonna knows what this means. She has two choices: hide and live in fear for the rest of her life, or stand her ground and fight. She chooses the latter. With unwavering determination, she prepares herself for what's to come. She knows the odds are against her, that her enemies hold all the power. But she also knows she is not the same frightened girl who once fled in the dead of night. She has fought too hard to let them take her back. With every fiber of her being, she refuses to surrender. But the battle ahead is unlike anything she has faced before. The enemy has grown more ruthless, more relentless. They will not stop until she is broken, until they have erased every trace of her defiance. And this time, they are not just after her. They want to destroy everything and everyone who has ever stood by her side. Meanwhile, across the vast, untamed lands of Montana, Alexandra finds herself on the precipice of a different kind of war. The walls are closing in, her carefully constructed escape crumbling before her eyes. For months, she has managed to outmaneuver those who sought to control her, carving out a new path on her own terms. But now, her luck has run out. The moment she realizes she's been caught, a cold dread washes over her. It had all seemed too perfect, too easy. The idea that she could simply slip away, disappear into a new life, was a fantasy. And now, reality has come crashing down. The people she thought she'd escaped from have finally caught up with her. They are ready to reclaim what they believe is theirs. Fear grips her, but she refuses to break. Alexandra has fought too hard to let them take everything away from her again. But as she assesses the situation, she realizes that this time she may not have a way out. She is surrounded, outnumbered, with no one to turn to. Every path she could take leads to a dead end. The betrayal stings more than anything. Someone she trusted, someone she believed was on her side, has led her straight into the trap. The realization twists like a knife in her gut. She had been so careful, so sure that she had outsmarted them. But the truth is, they had been playing a longer game. They had been waiting for her to let her guard down, and now they have her exactly where they want her. Back at the Dutton ranch, the weight of history bears down on the family. The news they have received is both a blessing and a curse. It changes everything, yet it also sets in motion a dangerous chain of events. The Duttons have always known that their survival comes at a cost, and this time is no different. Every victory comes with a shadow. Every moment of hope is tinged with the threat of loss. As tensions rise and enemies lurk in the shadows, the Duttons must decide how far they are willing to go to protect their legacy. The fight ahead is not just about land or power, it is about survival itself. And in this unforgiving world, only the strongest will endure. Teonna, Alexandra, and the Duttons each stand at a crossroads. Their fates are intertwined, their choices setting off a chain reaction that will change everything. But as the storm looms on the horizon, one thing is clear: there is no turning back now. Now, as the weight of destiny bears down on Teonna, she realizes that running is no longer an option. The past she thought she had escaped has circled back, threatening to consume her once again. But she is not the same girl who fled in terror. She has endured pain, loss, and cruelty beyond measure. And now, standing face to face with the ghosts of her past, she makes a choice that will change the course of her future forever. The people hunting her have grown more ruthless, more emboldened by their failure to capture her before. They see her survival as an insult, her defiance as an act of war. And now, they are ready to finish what they started. But Teonna is not afraid anymore. The rage that has simmered inside her for so long finally erupts into a burning fire of defiance. She has been hunted long enough. It is time to become the hunter. Her reunion with an old face brings clarity to the battle ahead. There is no safe haven, no peaceful existence waiting for her unless she fights for it. The enemy has already decided her fate, but she refuses to let them write the ending to her story. Every step she takes now is a calculated move. Every word she speaks is laced with resolve. She's lost too much to let fear dictate her choices. But even as she prepares to stand her ground, a new and unexpected danger arises. The ones she thought she could trust, those who once swore to protect her, are now divided. The weight of history, of old grudges and hidden fears, threatens to tear them apart at the moment they need each other the most. And Teonna realizes that survival will not just come from fighting the enemy, it will also come from keeping those she loves from turning against one another. Meanwhile, Alexandra's nightmare unfolds in ways she never could have imagined. The walls have closed in, and the realization that she has no escape sends a chill down her spine. The betrayal stings not just because of who deceived her, but because she let herself believe she was finally free. The people she thought she had outsmarted had been waiting all along, biding their time, ready to strike when she least expected it. But Alexandra is no stranger to hardship. She has fought against the expectations forced upon her, defied the chains of tradition and control. And even now, as the noose tightens around her, she refuses to go quietly. There is still a chance, a sliver of hope buried beneath the chaos. She must think faster, move smarter, and take the kind of risk that could either set her free or destroy her completely. Her fate now lies in the balance, and she must make an impossible choice. She could surrender and hope for mercy, a dangerous gamble with ruthless enemies, or she could fight, knowing that the odds are stacked against her. But Alexandra has never been one to back down. If this is to be her last stand, she will make sure her enemies regret underestimating her. At the Dutton ranch, the storm brewing beyond their lands grows darker. The news that once felt like a blessing now feels like a dangerous weight on their shoulders. Every victory in their world comes with a cost, and this one is no different. Enemies are watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. The Duttons have spent their lives protecting what is theirs, but this time, the battle may cost them more than they ever imagined. What's theirs, and they know that the battle ahead is inevitable. Tensions run high as past wounds reopen, and old alliances are tested. Some believe they should strike first, take control before their enemies can move. Others argue for patience, for strategy. But in a world as unforgiving as this, hesitation can mean death. The Duttons must decide, will they hold the line and wait for the enemy to come to them, or will they take the fight to those who threaten their way of life? The weight of these choices is crushing, but there is no time for doubt. The enemy does not wait, does not offer second chances. And as the night drags on, a decision is made that will change everything. Teonna, Alexandra, and the Duttons are on a collision course with fate. Their choices, their sacrifices, and their courage will define what comes next. But one thing is certain, the battle ahead will not be won without blood, without loss. And when the dust settles, nothing will ever be the same again. As dawn breaks over the rugged Montana landscape, an eerie silence blankets the land, a calm before the inevitable storm. Teonna stands at a crossroads, her fate intertwined with forces far beyond her control. The ghosts of her past are no longer just memories. They are tangible threats looming in the distance, waiting to strike. But she is no longer the scared girl who fled in desperation. She has transformed into a warrior, forged by suffering and strengthened by survival. The path before her is treacherous, but she knows there is no turning back. With every step forward, she feels the weight of her ancestors, their voices whispering words of courage and defiance. She will not allow history to repeat itself, will not bow to the cruelty that once sought to erase her very existence. The reunion that once felt like a beacon of hope is now a reminder of what she must fight for. Those who have stood by her, who have risked everything to protect her, are counting on her strength, and she refuses to let them down. The hunters who pursue her grow more desperate, their methods more brutal. They know that if they fail again, their grip over the land and its people will begin to slip. Teonna is more than just a fugitive in their eyes. She is a symbol of rebellion, a challenge to the very foundation of their power. And symbols must be crushed before they inspire more to rise. But Teonna is no longer running. She is standing her ground, ready to fight for the right to exist, to love, to live without fear. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Alexandra's fate hangs in the balance. Trapped in a world she once believed she had escaped, she finds herself ensnared in a web of deceit and control. The walls of the past are closing in, and the life she fought so hard to claim seems to be slipping through her fingers. She has played a dangerous game, and now the consequences have caught up with her. But Alexandra is not one to surrender easily. She has faced death before, stared into the abyss, and dared to fight back. Every moment she has spent defying expectations, resisting the roles forced upon her, has led her to this point. The battle she faces is not one of brute strength, but of cunning and resilience. She must outthink her captors, find the weakness in their armor, and exploit it before it's too late. The people who once held power over her underestimated her resolve. They believed she would break, that she would crumble under the weight of their control. But Alexandra has learned to adapt, to survive in a world that seeks to confine her. And now, with everything on the line, she will make a move so bold, so unexpected, that it will leave her enemies reeling. Whether she escapes or falls, she will not go quietly. Back in Montana, the Duttons brace for the inevitable clash. The good news that once brought them hope has now put a target on their backs. Enemies lurk in the shadows, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The Duttons have always known that power comes at a cost, and now they must decide how far they are willing to go to protect what is theirs. As tensions rise, alliances are tested. Some believe they should strike first, eliminate the threat before it grows too strong. Others argue for caution, for patience. But hesitation is dangerous in a land as unforgiving as this. The Duttons have faced enemies before, have fought tooth and nail to carve out a life in a world that does not easily yield. But this battle is different. The stakes are higher, the risks greater, and one wrong move could bring everything crashing down. The moment of reckoning arrives. The clash between past and future, between survival and destruction, is inevitable. Teonna stands firm, her heart pounding as the enemy closes in. She has fought too hard, lost too much to let them take her now. Alexandra prepares to make her move, knowing that failure is not an option. The Duttons steel themselves for the fight that will determine their fate. And then chaos erupts. The fight for freedom, for survival, begins. Blood will be spilled, sacrifices will be made. And when the dust finally settles, the world will never be the same again. But one thing is certain, those who underestimated Teonna, Alexandra, and the Duttons will soon learn that they are not so easily defeated. This is not just a fight for survival, it is a fight for justice, for legacy, for the right to exist on their own terms. And as the battle unfolds, one truth becomes clear: some will rise, some will fall, but the spirit of those who refuse to be broken will live on. The journey is far from over. The story is still being written. And the echoes of this fight will be heard for generations to come.